That's tilt. High five, man. Woo, woo!
It's only the 5th time.
Shh, don't tell them. This is YouTube where everything is perfect.
Editing magic.
Magic. Welcome back to the shop. Today we're back working on Project Black Pearl. That's my 2002 BMW 540 6-speed. We have been restoring this car to a better than it could be condition. I'm not going to say new because that's just not going to happen.
It's old.
But I've gone through almost all of the mechanicals up front. Later, we're going to be dropping the subframe out, doing all the mechanicals in the back. But today, I really want to focus on bringing it much more into that modern feel. A couple of things that we're going to do on the inside. One, we're going to fix the sunroof. When I bought the car, the owner had taken the fuse out, said the sunroof doesn't work, and it's all loosey-goosey and jacked up in there. Plus, we have to get the sunroof out to get our headliner out, which means I get to finally install my M Sport headliner. And last, we're gonna go ahead and replace my steering wheel with a new rewrapped and thickened leather steering wheel from Day on eBay. I have bought, this is my 4th wheel that I've bought from him over the last decade or so, and every single one of them have been of impeccable quality. I'll have links to everything down below, the eBay parts and everything that I've purchased for this car. Get the steering wheel out, you really only need one special tool, a tiny little screwdriver. See, on the back of your steering wheel, there are these perforations that your screwdriver can go through on both sides. And when you poke through, you're coming in to this spring clip here. This spring clip is what holds the airbag in place. And you're gonna go to the back there, and you'll find it, and you can push it over. You see the clip moving? That's gonna allow the teeth on the back of your airbag to pop free. And then we're gonna use that same screwdriver to open up our connectors on the airbag. Just like this connector here is already opened up. These are the shorting bridges. And then we can pop them out of the airbag. Right here.
Could the airbag pop right here?
Theoretically.
Not function?
Not likely, but theoretical. Just like that. To get our steering wheel off, we've got a 16 in the middle, and then we've got 2 connectors we're gonna have to pop out. Just gonna break that guy free, pull our screw out, and then our 2 connectors, 1 clip there, get in behind it, and pull back. There we go. Let me show you in the steering wheel. There is a little alignment pin or notch right in the middle. If I get the light right, I'll put an arrow on it so that you can't put the wheel on off. That way we'll wind up with it aligned in the same position later that it is now. Well, because of an error in judgment on my part, I forgot to open up the sunroof before I pulled the steering wheel, which means I got to turn the key on to open up the sunroof, which means I'm also going to set an airbag fault. At least I don't have to worry about it popping in my face because it's not there. Definitely going to be faulted though. So key on. Let's see what happens when I push the sunroof button. Oh, it tried, but nothing happened.
It's just loose.
It must not be connected at all, which is, I'm okay with that. That's fine. Because now these gaiters up here, I can try to slip these off. I'm going to slip something in the sunroof from up top to hold it open. That way we can get to our screws from either side. To get our gaiters off, you really want to get your finger as close to this pinched edge as possible. And typically once you get this to start peeling back, the whole thing will just bloop, pop off. Realistically, you could just leave it in the car and peel it down like this. I thought I'd give it a try to see if the bottom was going to come out right now. And it's just got this little pinched edge that squeezes in. And it came out okay. The bottom usually has a little more clamping force on it, and you got to be really careful that you're not going to rip the gaiters. 99% of the time these are going to rip those, so just be prepared for that. Then we can access our 3 bolts up top to actually dislodge our glass. So what I'm going to be using is an extension with a swivel to be able to get on them a little bit easier here. See, that guy's broken. So getting to that front one, I'm using this long, thin Torx. I can stick my finger in there, figure out where it is. So you can see here what I decided to use to hold the glass up since it wouldn't do it on its own. With our 6 screws out, it should just come right out the top. There we go. So with the glass out of the way, I can put the sunroof back in the down position, which allows us to slide our headliner sunroof, not our headliner. It allows us to slide the sunshade forward. And we can also see here what's broken is these arms, the conventional or the normal little plastic end here is broken off. So we know we got some issues. I can also see that the track is just full of sand and debris from many years of use. So let's get our sunshade out. We got a T20 on both sides that holds the little slider mechanism in. We'll slide that back and out of the way. Now we can get to the actual T20 underneath. Now this pops out as a whole piece. Now it's kind of a funny story how I wound up with this M Sport black sunroof, or not sunroof, headliner. See, I was at the junkyard looking for valve covers to refinish for this project, and this 2003 M Sport had come in about a month prior. Well, the interior was just about fully stripped. All of the pillars were down, everything was gone, and I could tell somebody was trying to get the headliner out, but there was no power to the sunroof because, you know, junkyard, and it was stuck in the down position. So they couldn't figure out how to get the glass out to get the headliner out, which left me going, crap, I gotta go back home and get some tools, and I got it out. So I picked up a headliner for dirt cheap at a pick and pull. It's actually in really good condition. See, this stage right here, this is the hardest stage to get to and the most important because these screws are integral to holding it all together. The rest of our headliner is pretty simple. We've got our visors, our handles, our centerpiece will actually stay, and then we have our pillars. All of these are held in with screws and clips, so you got to get underneath to get to our T20s in the corner, and you'll have to rotate this thing around to get to everything. And because these have the lights, there's going to be a little connector in there that you want to make sure you don't damage as you're pulling it apart. And that's it. Our handles are going to be just like the little clips here. They're going to have little covers that you can pop out here and here. They pop down. And these actually have Phillips in them. And these ones have T20s. So I'll get all those guys out and we'll move on to the next step. Oh, somebody painted this cover. You can see these are the little clip points where these guys lock into place. A little bit of glue, that's what was holding it in place. So this guy just has a little clip on the bottom, pops up, and it looks like this has actually been rewrapped at some point, not an actual M Sport piece. And we might try our dye on this and see if we can make it look a little nicer. Your airbag, you really don't have to worry about this guy. Just don't cut it or damage it. We are going to be pulling down our door sills here at the top. I'm going to leave them in. They'll be the last things that wind up holding the headliner in place. Then our center here, this guy is going to pop out from the side. We got some clips. And we kind of bend it forward to get the clips from the top here. There we go. And we find a whole mess of stuff up in here that we're going to wind up removing because I don't need any of this stuff wired up. T-taps and stuff like that. Well, it doesn't look terrible, but it must have been for a radar detector or something at some point. Remember, we're taking this all back to
as stock as possible.
Making it nicer, yeah. All right, from the top. Oh, I think we got it apart without it breaking.
Some of it was already broken.
The little clip was broken, that's why it came apart so easy. In the back here, we slide it back. Now it's free. There it is. All right.
Whoa.
Now we have to figure out the puzzle to get it out the back door. So I've got the passenger seat all the way down. I think I'm gonna be able to rotate. Try to squeeze this out the corner here. We don't want to hit anything on the dash. We've got the steering wheel out so that we're safe there. I might have to slide the seat back a little bit further to get around this edge. At the junkyard, the passenger seat was already missing and the passenger door wouldn't open, so we came out this corner anyhow.
Really close.
It does have to squeeze just a little bit with that seat. There we go, turn it a little more sideways.
Then you have to wait half an inch until it can come out.
Just that corner. Oh, that's what we don't want the new one to do.
It's just so brittle.
Yeah. There we go. Once you get the right angle,
You almost pulled the wires out.
it starts to slide out. Lift was kind of in the way too. I don't want the rubber to tear as I'm trying to pull it apart. So a little bit of lube goes a long way in these cases to help protect it from tearing. So it should slide right off now. No tears. Just dry it off. And we're good. And there. Go ahead and take your time pulling all these screws out. You are going to want a second person to get this out of here, but in the back there are some clips that are holding it to the ceiling. Can't remember if there's a clip up here somewhere. There might be. But that way, as you're pulling it apart, it shouldn't fall down in your face. Not that it can't, but it shouldn't. Oh yeah, it clips in right here. That's what happens. So this front portion slides in, and then you lift the back up into the metal clips. That's why it doesn't fall down on you. There it is. All right, I guess I'll hold it here. I don't think this seat is gonna be out of the way enough. What is that on the ceiling that's coming off? No, what's
Wait,
this?
That's a seal.
Okay,
It's off now.
okay. Okay, make sure let's twist it this way. Yeah, that works good. You're catching the door. You're currently on the door in the seat. You have to go up on that side, your left side. Left side. Up, up, up. You're dragging across the door. There you go. Away from the door.
I don't know if that was.
All right. Okay, so we've got our sunroof cassette laid out here on my cart. We can really take a look at what's going on. Primarily, the whole cause of all of this is plastic. Plastic ages, it gets brittle, and it turns into two pieces like you can see right here. This is our forward replacement part, which, I mean, it's still just a little tiny piece of plastic. The other problem that we run into is all of this should slide freely in the mechanism. Now this is an Arizona car, so there aren't a bunch of leaves and other types of debris in here. It's a bunch of sand and dust. And like this front piece, it takes everything I can to try to squeeze this thing forward. It's no wonder that the glass is working and snaps the plastic stuff. So as we've been playing with this thing, I decided,
Just tell me the truth.
scratch that. I didn't decide. We actually have cut out a few hours worth of footage here. I was gonna go up with a story that we decided to look at. We didn't decide to look at shit. We put it all together. We decided we weren't filming there for a moment. Cameraman's laughing at me. And we put it into the car, got everything reassembled. Put the motor in, didn't work. We're kind of pissed. Took it out. We actually found that we were missing, our fault, these little plastic tabs on the long metal arm. I didn't switch them out. I used the old arms because the new arms we had to drill in order to get the rod through. Well, let's just say that that was a mistake not using these arms. Then we still had the problem with the motor. Well, here is our original motor, and here are the many pieces of the gear. This was one of our many problems. The next problem we run into here is this gear is pressed onto the shaft, and trying to get it off was not going to happen. And I can't find anybody that makes a plastic gear for this motor. So this morning I headed out to my local pick and pull or pick and save here in Phoenix, and I picked up 2 motors. I actually pulled the sunroof motor out of 5 different cars. One of them had a gear that looked like that one, and then every other one had some level of cracked in the gears already. These 2 motors were the least cracked out of all of them, so I brought them home. $56 for these 2. On eBay, you can find these motor assemblies for $50 to $80 used, just like this, but with no pictures of the actual gear. So I imagine many of them are cracked as well. New, we're looking at greater than $500. That wasn't going to happen. So this was the better of the 2 gears, and I've got epoxy drying right now on both sides to try to hold it together the best that we possibly can. This gear is separable, and it came out of an X5. It uses a C-clip or an E-clip, and I think that I'll be able to find a replacement for it. The E60s they made replacements for, well, people have made, BMW didn't make, and possibly this one. So this other motor, we're gonna see if we can't get a brand new gear in it because it's really easy to swap out. So we're gonna go back together now. I've got this is the passenger side fully disassembled so that we can look at all the parts individually. We'll start at the front here. This piece is our lock that holds the front slider from coming out. Then we've got our pivot piece here. This is one of the ones that breaks often. And then on this, I don't know what this bar is called, but on this bar, you have the plastic piece that you slip onto the edge. The factory ones were like glued together and they didn't want to come off. These new bars had to be drilled out in order for this alignment pin to fit in there. But what's really important is that the new bar plastic tab, it has these lower tabs because they lock in down here and they allow the mechanism to slide back and forth without going into the tilt position. Tilt position only happens right here. Moving back, we have our little plastic clip, our top piece, and then this is a new pair of pieces here. The new metal piece, our press pin, and our slider. This guy you have to hammer in on a vise or on a bench or somewhere. It's not that bad, it goes right in there. And then following up the back, we've got our tilt slider mechanism here. And then our cable. One cable we could get out, one cable we couldn't. The far cable on the driver's side, for whatever reason, it didn't want to come out. So we left it in, tried to clean everything in place. We took off both of our rear drains back here, and then I sealed this inside edge that doesn't actually get water in it, and I applied new window weld all the way around the corner, heated everything up, and got that sucked in together. So let's go ahead and we'll get the side assembled. We're going to start at the front, and we're going to slide in this piece from the front because it's easy enough. Should just pull right in. Then our front slider. If you're ordering new parts, I'd suggest ordering a new one of these because they have felt on the bottom that wears off. I did not order new pieces, but they both slide pretty well now that they're all put together. We're also going to be pulling this pin off in order to lock onto our glass later. These parts have to go in from the back side, and that's because our cable attaches in this guide rail here, and then it slides into the mechanism. So that's locked into the cable. Then behind it, we've got our tilt rail, It's going to come up behind there. We'll slide this forward, slide this forward. This guy needs to come up and line up with this one. Got to put these little alignment pins on here. Now we'll slide it forward. Get those lined up. There we go. Push this guy back a little. Just like that. Slides forward and underneath. Bring this one forward. It needs to line up in our tilt guide here. Come up. This pin locks everybody together. The top tilt rail, this is what our glass actually mounts to. And then our T25 locks it all together. Now we've got a problem with our two cables being out of time. BMW has a special tool for that, and of course none of us have that. So what I'm using is, it's either a 5 or a 6 millimeter Allen. It's a 5.5. And the tool is designed to fit into a recess right in here. It's supposed to slide in to that guy. What I'm doing is I'm sliding my cable back. This fits right into the cable drive mechanism. And then, Judah, if you come over here, look right here. What I'm doing is I'm sliding both cables back until they stop right there. That way I have both of them even, and hopefully they're in the neutral or in a timed position. With both sides timed up in the neutral position, I went ahead and I installed a motor that we can drive by hand, because I was driving these electrically and I killed one of my batteries by shorting it out accidentally. The contacts are really close together, so I'm not going to recommend that. But I can drive this guy back and forth and I can recheck it, and everybody was in time. So our next step was to drive it back a little bit so that we can get our front wind deflector in. On the wind deflector, you have two of these guys that need to go in the right spot. So it needs to go with this opening down. Ask us how we know that. And what you do is you have to stand this up that way. It has to be upright. Come all the way around, bud. And then you can see the springs here. It just slides back and it can drop in. So we'll do that over here. Straight back. And our actual wind deflector, it has to be twisted, and you can see on here how to line them up. The actual pin is twisted just a little bit to go through, so it basically has to be upright like this. Then what we can do is drop her down. The spring needs to be to the front, and then we're going to twist and snap into place. So now it's holding itself up, and then we can slide these guys forward to hold it down. Now we'll go ahead and we'll take our locking arms off the front here. We're going to use a little screwdriver. We're going to push down on the little spring clip here, and then we're going to slide it back and out like that. So you push this down, and then you can slide it back. Then we can install these on the glass so that our alignment pin is all in the correct position. Continuing our reassembly, our rear drip tray sits down over the backside here, like that. And then you have these clips. They just roll in and snap into place. We're gonna go ahead and put our first M Sport component in. This is our sunshade. This has to drop in and line up on these alignment pins on both sides. So if you go just past, it'll allow you to get past the other rail, and you can drop it down. Then you can slide it back and onto the alignment pins, just like that. And then we just have 2 T25s on either side. Now we can put our slide top rail in, whatever this is called, with the felt. This needs to line up inside of our drive rail, and there's a square tooth here that has to go in first. So look right down in here. This has to go in from the back side, which is why we're doing this now. And then it's captured inside there and slides forward. On the back, there's a little tooth that catches that is actually what drives the sunroof slider back and forth. So our little clips here, these go on the outside. There's an L and an R on them. And then our smaller machine screw is what locks them into place. These are quite difficult to get lined up in the car. Getting them lined up now makes it much easier. And leave it loose enough that it can go up and down, but not so loose that the alignment pin is going to pop out. All right, we're ready for a test run. No glass. We'll go into tilt first. It can only move a little bit because it's not initialized.
Okay.
What was that? Did it get caught?
No. That was it pushing all the way down on those little extra tabs.
Okay.
I don't think it's snapping.
It's coming forward, no problem.
It's not popping up at all.
Now before we put the glass in, we need to make sure to lock down the headliner with this trim piece. And this slides back. Let's see, we got to slide the slider rails back on both sides. Goes back and in. You'll probably have to go a little further than you want. Slide it forward and slide it around a little bit to get past our trim pieces. There we go. Then we can pull up on the slide inside or the actual headliner and put all of our T10 screws in. And these don't have to be very tight. They're just going into these little sheet metal clips. Okay, now I'll go around with a ratchet and cinch these down just a little bit by hand to make sure they're all the same.
When you drop the glass in, you're going to want to make sure you get those tabs on the front lined up. You'll hear them click in. Then you can get to work on getting all your screws in. It's a little fiddly and a little tedious, but take your time, get it loosely installed, and then go ahead and adjust it for your final fitment.
With our glass in, we're going to temporarily tighten all 6 screws. And then what we're going to do is we're going to initialize our motor, and then we'll put it in the home position and we'll adjust it up and down to get the proper fitment. With most of our interior together, we're going to go ahead and get our steering wheel in. Remember, we always set the airbag facing up just in case we have an accident. It's not shooting the metal at you. And our steering wheel lines up with our alignment mark just like before. Then we'll slide it in place. Got to make sure to get the electronics in the back lined up. Okay, then we got to plug in our switches, plug in our airbag to the column, then put our bolt back in. I torque these down to about right there. Now for our airbag, make sure our shorting bridge connector is up. They only go on one way. Line everything up. Close your eyes when you're doing this. Click. Click. Rotate, make sure everybody's lined up still. Now, the same two clips that we had to push in to get the airbag out, we have to push through to get the airbag in. One click, two clicks. That's it. Everybody's back to that feels nice. Wow. I'm pretty excited to drive with that. All right.
Does the horn work?
Yep. Just in case.
That's such a wimpy horn.
It is. It sounded like one of the horns might not be working, actually. There's two horns, and that sounded like one tone.
We need to put an air horn on this.
Yeah. So next up, to finish our interior, we got to get all of our pillars in, but I'm not going to do that in this video because I'm going to be rewrapping them in a new material that we picked up at Joann Fabrics. We've never done that before, so I imagine it's going to take a hot second. Hey, don't forget to like and subscribe. Share this video with anybody that might be working on an older BMW. I did find what was wrong with my horn. It was one of my horns. In fact, it was the high tone that wasn't working. Thankfully, my M5 doesn't have horns in it, because why would you need horns if you're always in front? I'm not actually a very fast driver. I have a lot of fun though. The M5's a race car, it didn't need the horns. So I replaced the horn on the 540 so that I can be like all the other BMW drivers out there, not using my turn signal and beeping at everybody in the way. Anyhow, thanks again for watching. Stay tuned for the next episode, and what we're going to be doing is we're going to be rewrapping all of the pillars, and we'll do the grand reveal on the interior as it's coming together. There's still a couple other trim pieces that I need, but hopefully my birthday is coming, and I might get those for my birthday. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you in the next one.